Good evening and welcome to the April 25th, 2024 Zoning Commission regular meeting here held at Town Hall, Meeting Room 133 at 7 p.m. Can we all stand up and do a pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Let me have the commissioners introduce themselves tonight, starting from my left.
Gwen Arment, alternate.
Daryl Pratt, regular member.
Anthony Papucci, Vice Chairman.
Kurt Timmerman, Chairman.
Sean Turner, Secretary.
Matt Grimes, alternate.
All right, tonight, since Mr. Getz is not here, we'll raise Gwen Arment as a voting member for the one application. Gwen, can you confirm that for the record you are familiar with what has occurred to date for the Z-2411, the cannabis, and fully up to speed for this application?
Yes.
Thank you.
I am.
All right. Tonight, the zoning enforcement officer report. Fran had sent it out since it's so long. We're not going to go over the details, but if anybody has questions after you reviewed it.
Fran's got a lot going on.
Yeah.
6 pages worth.
People have been naughty, I say. Any questions from the commissioners?
Or I can address questions afterwards.
Oh, all right. All right. No problem. Yeah, if you go through that. So,
I think most of the ones we acted on last time have dates that are coming up, like May 1st or something.
yeah, so they're still awaiting, that date to see if they've complied.
Oh, there was a 15th, there was a 12th.
Well, the 15ths are all underway, if you look. The
Yeah.
15ths are all underway now, so the one of the ones that are coming up are on May 1st.
Yeah,
So Fran's gonna have more to do.
that's right, more to report.
Well, we hope he
for the
doesn't.
next meeting. All right, so
Whiskey in here.
to review the correspondence, this is about the letter from the Planning Commission. Maybe I said last time, you could all go over that letter from the Planning Commission. They're going to re-up the POCD. This is in the 10-year cycle. And as a part of that, before we do discussions, could you all review the actual POCD as it is now, as revised through 2016? And then we can discuss, what they're asking for from the Planning Commission to help them do their job over there. So we'll cover that next time.
Good.
So the next item 4, review the previous minutes of the previous meeting of April 11th, 2024. I'll take a motion to approve them.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting
Thank you, Tim.
for 11th of April.
Okay, second.
Second.
Thank you, Gwen. Any discussion, any corrections? No? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? All right, thank you. Approved unanimously. So 5A is continued public hearings, 271 Federal Road, Z-24-1. I'm going to read the introduction again because it is a continued public hearing. So this is a regular meeting of the Brookfield Zoning Commission. At this point of our agenda, we have scheduled a continued public hearing concerning the application of 271 Federal Road, application Z-24-1 for conversion of an existing banquet facility into a house of worship. Again, let me have the members introduce themselves, starting from my left.
Gwen Arment, alternate. Oh, but member today, voting member today.
Daryl Pratt, regular member.
Anthony Papucci, Vice Chair.
Kurt Timmerman, Chairman.
Sean Turner, Secretary.
Matt Grimes, alternate.
We had opened the public hearing. Actually, when did we open that?
February
March 28th, or March 28th, yeah.
Okay, and so we read the legal notice back then. This application was formally received by the Commission on February 22nd, 2024. The public hearing is only one aspect of the approval process and is for purposes of accepting factual information and data bearing on this application to allow expression of opinion by interested parties. Subsequent to this hearing, the Commission has 65 days in which to render a decision on the proposal. The final decision may be in the form of approved as submitted, approved with stipulations, or denied. After reading into the record correspondence received by the commission relative to this application, we will ask the applicant to present the application in detail. The presentation will be limited to 45 minutes. The chair will then entertain questions of clarification concerning the applicant's presentation. We will hear from those who wish to speak in favor of the application, followed by those who are opposed. Comments must be limited to 5 minutes. Members of the public who have one opportunity to speak during this segment of the hearing may also submit their concerns in writing during the public hearing. During the segment, the commissioners may ask additional questions. The bylaws of the commission only allow for the presentation of similar positions in succession and preclude the intermixture of comments pro or con. All questions and comments must be directed through the chair. As you are recognized, please state your name and address so the comments may be legally recorded. Please be assured that everyone will be given the opportunity to speak. However, the commission is most interested in hearing factual information relative to the application, and in view of the time constraints placed upon us, we ask your indulgence in not reiterating comments previously presented. After the public comments are received, the applicant will have the opportunity to comment, and the time will be limited to 10 minutes. Are there any questions on the procedure? All right, thank you. We'll ask now the vice chair to read the correspondence. I think we've only got 2. Is that correct? Those 2 letters?
Yeah.
All right. They're in here, right? Or should I just get
Does
them?
that include the one we got
you have
emailed to
yours.
us?
Yeah.
or-
Oh, you don't have them?
I'll read them, I just don't have them.
No, I'll dig into I have them. Promise I won't get these mixed up with the official stuff. There's one. The other one is. Nope, not that one. Is there 2 there?
No.
All right, well, you can read that one. I'll look for
Okay.
that one.
This is dated April 15th, 2024, from Michelle and Regina Novak, 2 Terra Drive, Brookfield, Connecticut, 06804. Dear Commissioners, I'm a resident of Rolling Wood Condominiums, and I have lived on Tara Drive. My concern with the approval of the K Church on Fox Hill property is traffic and speed of the cars going there. Tara Drive has a curve that is an unlit and with vegetation there. It is limited visibility on the curve. I have witnessed several accidents during the week driving at high speeds. I've also had to jump out of the way of cars going down the road at times. Other drivers were approached in the Fox Hill parking lot and have stated, "I was not speeding and I saw you." He also came fast around the curve when he saw others in the oncoming lane. What was once a residential road has turned into a dangerous place. I feel for myself and my neighbors who routinely walk their dogs. When backing my car out, I fear I will get hit. Can a study be done to check the speed of vehicles, especially during the week? Can better lighting be added to the road? It seems speed limit signs are just a suggestion.
Is there another side?
Nope.
All right. And here's the other.
Okay. And the second one is from Laura Contorno of Rolling Wood Condominium. She's a resident owner, 20 Falmouth Court. It was sent in April 10th, 2024. Regarding comments to opposition of K Church Corp. Federal Road cannot support heavy traffic that will occur from K Church. There will be backups unfair to the residents. A second traffic light will be needed and will back up Federal Road because the light will have to stay red longer for the Federal Road traffic. There is one way in and out of the condominium complex to access the K Church most efficiently without cars having to enter from the traffic light entrance, which will then cause cars to go completely around the loop to get to K Church. There will also be too many unknown, unfamiliar cars and non-residents allowed into our complex. I think it will make our living space feel less private and safe as it is now. When unfamiliar cars or people are around, we will go on alert. Many residents walk dogs, walk, run for pleasure or exercise. Adding cars will make this busy, noisy, and unsafe to walk during the times of worship and extra meetings. Our property values will go down. Our condo loop is quiet. K-church music and gatherings may be loud or unsettling for the residents. Solicitors are not welcome within the condos circle, therefore signs promoting K-church and its events is a solicitation that would also not be appropriate or welcomed in our condo neighborhood.
Thank you, Tony. All right, I'm now prepared to hear your application.
Sure. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Charles Lichtenauer. I'm an attorney with Chipman Mizuko Emerson, located at 44 Old Ridgebury Road in Danbury. If the Commission would indulge me, I'd just like to reiterate some of the points I made at the previous hearing so that those who are first attending this evening get a feel for what the application is. I'd then like to respond to the comments in the letters that were just read into the record.
All right.
So, just a brief overview. I know this commission has already heard me give this talk before, but this is an application by White Star Properties, LLC, and K-Church Corp. For a change of use requiring a special permit. It's located at 271 Federal Road, which is a commercial zone. The proposed use is a place of worship. It's in accordance with the zoning regulations, section 42A2C. I mentioned last time the history of White Star. It's been a banquet hall, event space. It's hosted weddings. It's had large events for the last 40 years, more than 40 years. Events declined in the pandemic. The owner, John Royce, and his partner decided that it was in their best business interest to sell the property, and they are assisting the contract purchaser, K-Church, in obtaining zoning compliance. It's a very typical real estate transaction term. Access is via Federal Road, then Rollingwood Drive. You make a right onto Rollingwood, then a left onto Tara Drive. And just a quick summary of what we're going to be doing. We're going to be updating the building to comply with building and fire code and provide ADA access. The place of worship, as I mentioned, will be K-Church. Summing up their operations, Tuesday through Thursday, small groups, 15 cars from 6 to 8 p.m. Friday, about 35 vehicles, 6 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. Saturdays, a few cars to set up for Sunday service. Sunday service is the largest event, 9 a.m. To about 2 p.m. when the last congregant will leave, and that'll be 60 to 65 cars. The congregation total right now is 190 parishioners. The zoning regulations call for 60 spaces. There are 106 spaces on site. We had a traffic study prepared by Gregory Del Rio of Hardesty Hanover. His colleague, Veronica, is here with us tonight and is able to answer any questions that you may have on traffic. I did go over the criteria for approving a special permit at the last hearing. I will just briefly touch on those. Zoning, as you know, it's a special permit use in the C1 zone. The plan of conservation and development. There are references to the importance of religious institutions in Brookfield. Environmental protection and conservation. We're not proposing any external work. There will not be any disturbance to the environment. Neighborhood compatibility. This is in a C1 zone. Activities with regional draw is what the C1 zone provides for. This site has been used as an event space for 40 years. And suitable location, right off Federal Road. It's a large arterial road. It's a large site with ample parking. And the intensity of operations as between a banquet hall that hosts weddings and other very large events and a church is decreased, significantly so. Appropriate improvements is the sixth category to consider. And as I mentioned, we're not proposing many improvements. mostly for ADA, fire, and building code compliance. The seventh criteria, suitable transportation conditions, we have our traffic report from Hardesty Hanover. Veronica Prezioso, as I mentioned earlier, is here to comment on that if you wish. Adequate public utilities and services, we have a former banquet hall and event space with weddings, with that served food, alcohol, required significant public utilities. So the utilities and services on site are set up for success. Nuisance avoidance. John will tell you, in the history of this site as a restaurant, banquet facility, etc., no nuisance complaint or visits from the police department. The change of use to a church would be less intense than the current use, and all activities generating sound would be conducted inside. Now, I'd like to switch to responses to the letters that the commission received, and then we would all be happy to answer questions.
Okay.
I'd like to first note that notices have been sent to the 249 unit owners of Rollingwood condominiums, well, all the surrounding neighbors. There was in the letters, traffic was raised as a concern. I just touched on that. I won't bore you with that again, but again, happy to answer questions. There was also a concern about cars entering at the entrance to Rollingwood condominium at the traffic light entrance, such that the parishioners would have to go around the entire Rollingwood loop to get to K Church. That's not what we're proposing here. And I think the drivers would prefer the most efficient route to the church, which is the northerly entrance to the site, which is the most direct route to the site. I don't think the church has plans to make use of that circle for an access way, and they wouldn't have a right to. There was a concern about too many unknown, unfamiliar cars and non-residents allowed in Rollingwood complex. As I noted at the last hearing, Rollingwood does not own the access route from Federal Road to the White Star property. The fact that cars are unknown to the Rollingwood community will be on the subject property is not a change of conditions from the banquet hall use. In fact, the parishioners going to the church will be the same cars every week in, week out. They will become familiar. It's not an ever-changing cast of characters Thursday, Friday, Saturday night coming in and out of the site. There was also a concern about Rollingwood residents feeling unsafe walking dogs and running on the property. It seems as though the property owner is concerned with this specific strip of land from the northerly entrance to the site, Rollingwood Drive, then Tara Drive, all the way to the Fox Hill Inn. Again, that's not Rollingwood property. There is an easement granted to the condominium complex for maintenance and access to those units that are on Tara Drive. But as I said, Rollingwood does not own that property. There was reference to a specific driver. We don't know who that driver is. They could very well be a Rollingwood resident. The church, for its part, for the record, does not want reckless drivers anywhere near their property. There was a concern raised, I believe, by Commissioner Turner last hearing, about lighting. And I went back and visited the property today to check on that. The parking lot is lit. The section of Tara Drive that is owned by White Star is lit by standard pole lights. And of course there's lighting at the entrance to the main Fox Hill Inn entrance. So I think that any increased lighting on the subject property would constitute a nuisance probably to the nearby neighbors. The lighting on site has worked and it's worked for large events. It's worked for, frankly, patrons of the Fox Hill Inn who have been drinking all night. This is a use, the proposed use, that will occur in daylight hours. We will not be having the volume of cars and visitors to the Fox Hill Inn site at night that the Fox Hill Inn did for wedding and catering events. There was also a concern that property values would go down. I don't know where that concern comes from, but I would assume that potential buyers would rather a church than a banquet facility operating regularly during the evening and late evening hours. That would seem to me to be a bit more of a nuisance than your standard 9 a.m. church operation. There was a concern about noise. I raised that earlier. All noise generating activities will occur inside. If any noise escapes the building, and I do doubt that, it will frankly be less frequent than it previously was. And two more points. Solicitors in the condo circle. The church is not in the business of soliciting their neighbors. And so concerns about solicitors, I think, are unwarranted. And the church will keep its activities to the subject property. There was finally a concern, I believe it was raised, if not at the last meeting, I think it may have even been raised over a year ago when there was consideration of the regulation change to allow churches by special permit. And it was a concern about property taxes. And the fact that this is a religious organization does mean that it's exempt from property taxes. But the fact is that this property will not be paying taxes has a minuscule effect when compared with the town's most recent property tax increase. And when it comes to zoning law, it's not, there's a line of cases that says that the positive or negative effect of a proposal on taxes is not a relevant zoning concern. So I think with that, I have addressed all of the considerations that this commission should take when deciding this application. That said, we welcome any questions that you may have. And thank you.
Any questions for the commissioners?
Yes,
Ms. Glenn?
Mr. Chairman, I have a few, Mr. Lichtenauer. Last meeting, you said that Tuesday through Thursday, there would be 6 to 8 cars, and today you said there would be 15. Will that increase?
15, I think he said Friday was 15 is what he said.
No, Friday's 30, Thursday's 35. 35 cars would meet Friday. Tuesday through Thursday, I'm just reading the minutes. Small groups would be 6 to 8 cars. Tonight you said 15.
Well, if at the last meeting I misspoke, I apologize, but what I do have here is are my notes from the last meeting. And so, in fact, nowhere here do I have 6 to 8 cars. So for the record, and thank you for allowing me to clarify, Tuesday through Thursday, 15 vehicles from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Friday, 35 vehicles, 6 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. Saturdays, a few cars, just to set up for Sunday service. And the congregation, as I said, has a total of 190 parishioners, which the zoning regulations would call for 60 spaces. And we have plenty spaces to accommodate those parishioners. I hope that clarifies, and I'm sorry for the mistake.
It's okay. I have another question.
Sure.
You also said that the owner of Terra Drive had granted access. Today you said that the owner owns part of Terra Drive or all of Terra?
So the way that Terra Drive is set up, Christian, would you mind bringing up? Well, actually, you know what? I don't know if everyone can see my small, but the way that Terra Drive is set up is such that this parcel are distinct from the owners of this parcel. This parcel is all owned by White Star Properties LLC. This section, though called Rolling Wood Drive, it's the same drive. So there's two portions of Tara Drive that are owned by different entities.
I see. Who owns that other part?
This is Blue Ridge LLC. Actually, this entire section is owned by Blue Ridge LLC, of which John is a member, but different ownership structures. Starting right here at the bend is White Star Properties. And as you'll see, I noted earlier, there are lights right here, right here, right here, here, and here. Here again, and then in the parking lot and at the front of the building, and on this island as well. Does that clarify?
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Sure.
A couple more.
Sure.
So it's guaranteed that the sound will be inside? That's a guarantee.
That's my understanding. The church's council is here tonight.
Oh, good. Because we've never heard from the church.
Yes, you did, last week.
Well,
Eric Cook, for
counsel.
the record. And I was counsel, not last week, last time I was here, and I did speak on behalf of the church. I wasn't wearing a wig at that time, so I should have looked the same. If you have any other questions
What I
concerning,
mean is, we've never had anybody from the church.
I was here last time, ma'am.
Oh, you are from the church?
I am from the church. I am the legal representative. I am the attorney for the church, and I was here last time. And I was here the first time we came through, too. I put the application.
Yes, I remember that. Mhm.
Yep.
Okay. We just don't know what kind of church it is.
That's not a question for this commission.
No,
Legally.
It would be inappropriate, too.
It's out of order, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It would just be nice to see people from the church. We've never seen anybody, but that, guess-
There was members of the church here at the first time we were here. Absolutely.
there were.
You got to remember, we've been through this process 3 times now.
Huh.
The first time, the members of the church were here in the audience and did speak. This is our 3rd time here.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions?
Nope, that's it.
And
Thank you.
by the way, yes, all the sound is on the inside of the church. There is no sound being played outside of the church, except for maybe a doorbell to allow people in to hear. That's about it.
I've got a question for you.
Yes.
Since, if I understood this right, you guys are actually purchasing the property from White Star.
Correct.
Okay. Is there any plans in the future, maybe not immediate future, for expansion?
No. The outside of the building is going to look exactly the same. The only difference is making the building safer for ADA, anything that fire wants, which would also be including the sprinkler system, fire suppression. Whatever the state and town needs and requires, that is what the update is going to be to the building. Almost 100% is inside. I can't tell you if there needs to be added a ramp, but whatever ADA requires, that is what's going to be the only modification to the outside of the building, minimus.
No, again, agreed, I've got
Yeah.
that. But I know on the property, there's 2 buildings there.
Yes.
So, because of House of Worship, and that's why I was thinking, and I'm forward thinking, and again, there might not be plans for this, a religious education, a school. And that's why I was asking as far as build out in the future. Are you planning to, 10 years from the road, possibly do
There-
additional construction?
There are
and/or-
no plans currently for anything additional. This church is actually and has been in Danbury for a long time. The building burnt down. And during that, they've been in existence for a while, and they are planning to do the same exact thing in Danbury at their building that they own, that they were here.
Okay.
Which is no schooling, just what we're proposing now. And really, they don't have any money to go any further because they lost so much of the parishioners, because we've been here for so long as well. And they've been located in Danbury in one of the public schools.
Okay,
On
that's
weekends.
fine. And like I said, I was just curious.
Yep,
Also, if they were gonna do something more, they would have to come back.
correct.
Okay. And that's what I thought, but
On the noise question, without asking about denomination or anything, is there
a bell that rings at the start and the end of service like there is on most churches that everybody's gonna hear?
No, there's no exterior, any type of bell, any type of noise. I've been there through one of their ceremonies or services on a Sunday, and I stood out in the parking lot, and I heard nothing from the parking lot. And that's right beyond the pedestals into the first parking spot. I heard nothing. I was there for an hour and a half.
Any more questions for the K-Church attorney?
Nope.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Art. Any other questions from the commissioners on?
No, I just didn't know if it had been an established church, which it had been.
Okay. Excuse me, are we gonna get the traffic study? Are we gonna hear that?
Yeah, we can ask for, yeah, if we could get some details on the traffic study, that'd be good. Some
Sure.
summary.
Do you want just like a little presentation?
Sure.
Yes, please. Yes.
If you, a question, Chair, Mr. Chair. We presented the traffic study last time. What do you want different? Because the one from the traffic study is not here. She's just setting up for any extra questions.
Oh, all right.
So we weren't planning on re-presenting what we presented at the last public hearing?
In the last public hearing, you presented the revised traffic study. Is that the one you're talking about? Because I believe there was an original one and a revised one.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's the
Yeah.
revised one, it's the one that we
All right.
spoke about last.
So I guess if anybody had questions, if everybody's read it, you know.
Yeah, we only brought them back in for questions that anyone might have had. We weren't prepared to re-present everything we did at the last meeting, Mr. Chair. Okay, thank you.
In terms of the selling of the property, you mentioned the road is split into two. Is it only the portion that's attached to White Star that is being transferred to Case?
Mr. Chairman, if I understand your question correctly, if you're asking whether the portion of Terra Drive that's connected to the former Fox Hill Inn property is the parcel that's being transferred?
Yeah,
Yes, that is correct.
and then the other part remains in that separate ownership.
That is correct.
All right. Any other questions? All right, is there anybody in the audience that have questions of clarification about questions, that you want more understanding? All right, at this point, I'll take any comments on, in favor of this application?
No one signed the sheets, either one.
Oh, nobody signed one? Okay. Well, yeah.
They raised their hand.
That's why I gave them 5 minutes tonight. There was not that many people. Does anybody like to speak in opposition to this application? No? All right. Any final wrap-up or anything?
Happy to do so, Mr. Chairman. The applicant, the co-applicant respectfully request that this commission close the public hearing and vote in favor of this application, and thank you all for your time.
All right, thank you. All right, hearing that, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing, seeing as we have no more information.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for 721 Federal Road, Z-24-1. The Perry Christian Fry, 115 Pocono Road, Brookfield, for White Star Properties, for the special permit designed to convert existing banquet hall to the house of worship for K-Church.
All right, a second?
I'll second that.
All right, Sean, any discussion on the motion to close the public hearing? Hearing none, all in favor of closing the public hearing? Aye. Opposed, abstained, so it passes unanimously. I think we'll wait until after this to see if there's enough time to deliberate tonight on this, so we can,
Why wouldn't you deliberate now?
just because I don't want people to wait, the next people. You know, we can bang through this right now and get back to deliberations on the other one. It's just how we used to do it. Because there's people here for the cannabis as well.
Oh,
Not that they can say anything.
yeah,
Um,
exactly. So I could think you could dispose of White Star now, but
Does anybody have input to that? Would you like to deliberate on,
Proceed.
on 271?
Sure.
All right.
Get done.
All right, so why don't we do deliberations? What are people's thoughts on approval or,
You know, I know I can't vote tonight on this, but
and nor can you include in deliberations,
You
only
can.
voting? No, you cannot.
You're not seated.
If you're not a voting member, you cannot deliberate, because it's only the 5 of us who are effectively the jury on the application. So, any comments? Or maybe I'll start. My feeling is that this use of the property is less intensive. I mean, personally, I prefer a church to the party house. I've been to places there, and it's upwards of 200 people, and I'm surprised nobody ever got into a drunk driving accident coming out of there, because you see people drinking everything, and so it gets noisy. There's people driving at night, at midnight, and I think that's a worse situation than this ever would be. And the fact that they actually own that road, you know, so. That said, maybe speed limit signs might be a good thing, just to remind people, you shouldn't go blasting down this road,
Or
there's
speed bump.
speed bump, speed sign, yeah, something. I mean, we could put stipulations on it, because I don't think you should be driving down. You know, if there's a 1 or 2 people that like to drive fast, well, they should be put on notice, either by a sign or something,
Agreed.
to address that portion. I understand, Federal Road is busy, but that's not their fault. They have every right, and they're not a large traffic generator outside of that one time. And at 9 o'clock in the morning, I've been there on Sunday, and there's nobody around.
Exactly. It's a Sunday, it's not a weekday.
Yeah, and then when they leave, they don't leave all at once. There's a chunk that leaves at whenever it's over. And then the rest, they have fellowship and things like that, like a typical church would. So aside from, something about speed limit signs, that would be my thought. I really don't see an issue with this, and I think this is better than what's there now. I mean, better than what was there now when it was in active place, before, pre-COVID.
So I agree with everything that you had to say. The only thing I would suggest is, you can't compare apples to apples. It's thinking about the church in New Milford, Faith Church, coming out of that.
Yes.
Sometimes can get really crazy if everybody's trying to leave at once. I would only suggest that thinking about maybe, and I know it's an added expense, but maybe having a cop there at a certain time when the church gets out, just to keep traffic moving that way through that area. And it kind of helps with the residents too, because then they may feel like you're doing something to keep the traffic on after services to get out of there. But otherwise from that, I don't see an issue.
Where would you propose doing that, like at Federal Road itself, or?
On Federal Road itself, yeah, right at the intersection that goes to Rolling Woods.
It would be on the road between the furniture store and Hacienda, where you've got that road, no light. The light could
No
actually
light.
manage the traffic for people coming in and out. But if people decide to use both sides,
Yeah.
that opens it up. And I agree with Sean
Well,
wholeheartedly.
and the concerns of the residents, I don't think the subject property, they should be driving through Rollingwood to get to the light.
Correct.
Because that's not their
Correct.
road, those are private roads
Correct.
on that side.
Which is, again, it even goes further to Sean's point. And that's why I said I absolutely agree. Faith does do that on weekends to let people out. Because, again, crossing Super 7 or 7 at that point
Yeah.
is a challenge.
Yeah, that is a much busier section.
I've seen
Correct.
much smaller churches do the same.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like I
Police
said,
is right there on the main street
Yeah.
and is guiding traffic, and it moves smoothly.
Yeah, and that would just be on leaving, because I
Yeah.
think coming, there's no problem.
again, yeah.
There's
'cause-
nobody there.
And again, now this ties into the use case. Leaving church at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, depending on the peak point of when traffic is leaving, that could be the high point of Federal Road starting to get busy. 9 in the morning, 8 in the morning,
Yeah.
it's empty.
Daryl, you have any thoughts on
We
it?
can stipulate that in, that they
We can
have
put
to
it,
have a traffic cop there, we can.
yeah, we could put that stipulation in.
That'd be a good
I
idea.
don't, the question is, what's the best way to put it in, you know, based on how many people do you have leaving at once? You know, I think they would need some experience, maybe first, before knowing
Agreed.
if it's
Yes, see
really,
if it works or if it doesn't,
Probably.
yeah,
if they need help.
yeah.
Mhm.
Again, it could be, the stipulation could be remediation if, and that could be quantified.
Also, the speed signs
Yeah,
and possibly a speed bump or two.
I'm not sure I like the speed bumps just because plowing.
Hmm.
Plowing test, you know, you have to try to plow over a speed bump.
Oh, we have them.
Yeah,
They do get knocked sometimes,
but I'm all.
but they do help the speed, I must say.
Mhm. So for having a person there for Sunday departures, what do you think if, you know, if we want to put a number on it? You know, if the departure exceeds, what'd they say?
Over
They
50
had
cars, over 100
Right.
cars. Yeah.
over 100 cars at once. You know, if history proves that, then you should get, maybe, why don't we do something like that, over 100 cars?
I think 100 might be, I'm thinking 50. Just only because it's a two-lane road. And
Yes.
if you've got 50 cars coming out, I mean,
That's
it's
a
gonna
lot.
sound bad, but I'm going back to a concert scenario, trying to get out of a concert.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would say 50, and I think that that's fair. 50 leaving at a given point, or 50 again, if it's staggered, then it's irrelevant. But if there's
Right.
50 people leaving, or 50 cars leaving at the same time,
yeah,
they should definitely have someone.
all right.
Kurt, my only big concern is, and I don't think it can be really a big deal, but the fact that they broke our zoning laws by having church at the facility without having the proper permits to do it, kind of just, I don't know, puts a bad taste in my mouth of what's next, what might drop next, you know?
Yeah,
And
now,
2 times they did it too, so that's the biggest concern I have, but again, I don't think I can hold that out there, but it's just something I have personally.
okay. That what you're referring to the previous applications that come through? Yeah, yeah. They've gone this route though, at least this time.
Yeah.
They decide, you know, we're gonna go through, because it's expensive to come hire lawyers,
Oh,
hire
sure.
architects.
Sure.
But I understand.
Yeah.
All right, so why don't we work on so you think speed limit, okay, speed limit signs, what do you think? 15 miles an hour? 20? I mean, it's only on that road they control.
Right.
They shouldn't be driving through Rollingwood.
No.
And the congregation should be told they shouldn't be driving through Rollingwood.
Correct.
Mr. Chair? I don't think we can necessarily determine and dictate the actual speed limit.
All right,
Private
just have
road.
speed limit signs.
Number of signs perhaps, but I wouldn't go into the actual speed limit. It's based off of sight lines,
Okay,
and it's
All
also
right.
private road.
it's
so-
beyond our purview. All right. I would think only one sign
Yeah.
going each direction.
Right.
Yeah. And speed as necessary by a licensed traffic engineer.
Traffic study. The speed limit's probably stated in the traffic study.
Oh,
Detail on what's the appropriate one for the road, so.
okay. As per traffic study. I'm trying to figure out what the motion's gonna sound like. So, let's see, so how does this sound for a motion? Motion to approve 271 Federal Road Z-21-1 for a special permit with design review to convert existing banquet facility into house of worship with the following stipulations. 1, the speed limit sign in both directions on Terra Road, I think. Terra
Mhm.
Road,
Yes.
as with a speed limit set by whatever the traffic study suggests. And 2, a speed bump there to slow people down. And 3, if at any time the departure traffic, especially on Sunday, reaches over 50 cars in that 1 hour, they should hire a traffic control person the following Sunday to take care of that until they don't need that anymore.
Right.
If or until.
If, yeah, yeah. All right, so how does that sound?
Pretty good.
Who wants to make that motion and just say what he said?
I will move to make, to do what you said.
And I'll second it.
So approve of those 3 stipulations.
Yeah.
Any discussion on the motion? I think it's, you know, I think that would work out well for them. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstention? All right, passes unanimously.
Congratulations. It's a long time coming.
All right, so now we have deliberations on 5D 100 Pocono Road, Z-24-11, Town of Brookfield, application for a regulation change in text amendment of permitted and prohibited uses regarding cannabis establishments and medical marijuana dispensaries. So, let's see. So what are people's feelings on this one? We heard a lot we got a lot of input.
Yep.
You know, we got what we wanted. And we heard from a lot of people. So, why don't you give me some of your thoughts before I give mine?
You need to raise a point of order first.
Sure.
Last 2 weeks ago, public hearing was closed. Commission voted to close the public hearing, and since there were so many people here, you made very clear what that meant, that there could be no correspondence, that there could be no more input. And what happened over the weekend, public deserves to be made aware of, is a gross violation of that. Commissioner got a letter from, of all people, the chairman of the planning commission, urging how to vote on this application. That is a total breach of zoning regulations. That is a total breach of, it borderlines on a breach of ethics, and it should not have happened, and it was forwarded to the commission members. And if it had been any other applicant besides the zoning commission itself, that applicant would have grounds to make the commission, to have the commission go through the whole rigmarole of the process again with the public hearing. It's unfortunate that it happened, but you explain what would happen. And I think in light of that, Commissioner Papucci needs to recuse himself on this matter.
Well, I don't.
That's my opinion.
Okay, thank you for your opinion. In Commissioner Papucci's quest to be above board, he informed the rest of the commission of this improper communication from Mr. Dale, and did include a land use office so they could disposition it properly, noting that this was a closed public hearing and we can't accept any other data. And which we know, no more input. We have to disregard it. And you should all disregard, if you happen to glance at it, to disregard that. And he wasn't the only one to receive that. Mr. Commissioner Pratt also did receive a communique, which he disregarded as well, didn't even open it. And I asked the commissioners in the future, if you get such communication, just to forward it to the land use office for them to handle, they can disposition it. As with any of this information that we got after the fact, it was put into a sealed file that we are not allowed to look at. We don't even know how many there are, which, yay or nay, because that's the procedure. Mr. Dale on the Planning Commission should not have, for 2 reasons. 1, it's a closed public hearing. 2, he cannot stand in front of another land use commission and give his opinion. It's by state regulations disallowed. Now, he already gave his opinion in their referral. The Planning Commission gave a positive referral. He's the chairman. So we already know his mind, but that doesn't excuse the breach of conduct
No.
and the regulation.
No.
He should not have done that.
Twice.
Twice, yes.
Yeah.
So,
And I also want to, for a point of order, I also didn't know who that came from. So I want to be very clear. That's the reason why I sent it to land use. I didn't read it, I sent it, and I was making sure everybody was aware that it came through.
That may have been your intention but it was not prudent to do what you did. I mean, because, and I'm gonna tell you, lack of prudence has gotten this commission in trouble before. The applicant that was in here, two people not reading an application, landed the commission in Superior Court. It's a good thing that Brookfield is the applicant on this one, zoning commission is the applicant on this one, because any other applicant would have legal recourse with what you did. I don't think it was intentional at all, Tony. I just think you should recuse yourself on this matter because of what happened, so that this application comes in clean. That's all. And, you know, I don't think you intended anything malicious, but the fact is, that is a problem, what happened. And it paints the commission in a very unfavorable light if we're tainted with correspondence. I mean, Kurt very clearly explained, if you get correspondence the last time, get it into the land use office, it's going into a sealed file. It should not have been shared with the commission in either case. And I think that we need to do one of two things here. Either you need to recuse, or we need to start the process over again, because that's probably what an applicant, a property owner would demand. I mean, you hear me say this repeatedly, we're one community and one standard has to apply to everybody. We can't just make it apply when we don't want it to apply. And I would hope the rest of the commission agrees with me on this.
well, I disagree, because we all got the letter, we'd all have to recuse
Well,
ourselves.
let's see what the rest
Yeah,
of the
all
commission
right.
thinks.
You know, we,
And I have to recuse myself too then, I got it. And
That
all
you
of us
probably do, but
We all read it though, Matt, so.
I didn't know, I deleted it because of what he said the last time. He said that if it was sealed, that was it.
The way it came over.
It
Today-
does taint the process.
It does, and that's my concern here, is that it taints the process. So I think that there should be recusals on this, because, as I said, there would be if there was any other applicant besides the town of Brookfield here. And we need to not make amateur mistakes as a commission. As I said, the commission landed itself in Superior Court before we got here because of amateur mistakes, and we can't be making them, especially with something as serious as this, where we asked for the public input. We told them the parameters of what the public input would be. We told them when they were getting it. We advertised 6 ways to Sunday for them to get it. And then the planning commission chairman weighs in after the public hearing's closed. Personally, reached out to an individual commissioner. That is wrong to do something like that.
yes,
And in
we
comments
all,
of
we all
commissioners.
recognize that.
No, and in comments of commissioners, I'm gonna be bringing up some recourse the commission, I think, needs to take because of that. But for now, I think the people that got the thing are in a position that they have to recuse themselves on this matter.
But Matt, we all got it.
Correct?
I
Okay,
didn't get
maybe
it.
you didn't read, but I'm sure, you know.
It was
not
forwarded
everybody
to-
else
it was
got
forwarded
We don't
to
know
us.
if you
We
read
didn't
it or
get
not.
it.
How do we
Right.
know you didn't read it?
Right.
I said I was deleting it.
Well, that's good, but we don't know that. You know, the way it came over, the one I got today was actually sealed, it wasn't an open
Yeah.
letter that
Right.
Tony
Yeah.
had. So, I mean,
You were
Tony,
very
how do you
clear,
feel
Daryl.
about it?
yeah.
You were
Do you feel
clear.
like you should recuse yourself, or you didn't read it, you disregarded it? Because, you know,
I didn't
I
read it. I pushed
disregarded
it.
it too,
Right, I pushed it to,
to push it to land use.
right.
When it got pushed to the other commissioners, that's where the line got crossed.
I also received the letter full disclosure. I didn't read it. I just
Yeah.
received it.
Yeah, and that's
all
what
got
I
it.
have to ask, if anybody's read it.
We all got it.
No.
Yeah, we all got it, but if we haven't read it and we disregard it because we know, as commissioners, we can't accept it, then I don't see any reason to recuse ourselves.
Then what happens on a future application when a public hearing is closed and you're getting emails like that? What happens is the applicant and has recourse against that.
Well, what
against
happens
us
in
when that
court
happens.
when the jury hears something and the judge tells them to don't, you know, just disregard that? What happens?
That's not
They go
the
back
point.
in, they deliberate.
Well, that's
they come up with
exactly
a
the
verdict.
situation here.
Right. So, it's the same thing, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we not only do we disregard it, we didn't read it because it's like we can't accept it. So thank you for your input, but I don't think there's a need to have recusal or to go through the process again.
What I don't understand is we already received a letter from the planning.
Well, that's
And
just
their,
it.
their opinion, why did, and we probably should, go to the ethics committee, actually.
Yes, it's a separate thing, he should have done,
Yes.
yes.
Because should know better,
Yes, he should know
and he
better. We
probably
all
does
train
know
him.
better,
Yeah.
or he shouldn't be the chairman of the commission to then send a personal letter right before we're going to deliberate.
Right.
Nor should he go to a former commissioner and try to get them to. say
Yes.
it.
Yeah,
Correct.
exactly,
Yes,
exactly.
that's really egregious.
So that's,
Went over it, but-
that's a separate issue
Yeah.
that it shouldn't be left standing, it should be taken care of, you know? Something should be done about that.
Absolutely, and I'm not, I don't think that anybody intended anything maliciously. I just think this application needs to come in clean, and it's gonna not come in clean like this, that's all.
I asked all the commissioners if, you know, if they've disregarded it and haven't read it, and they've said they haven't, so I think we're clean on that. Thank you. So why don't we continue on that? If we could start with the planning's referral. Their referral came through. It seems mostly dealing with the monetary and nothing to do with, you know, they didn't refer back to the P O C D at all.
My only concern, I mean, listen, you know, I'm in favor of, but I'm not, because the general public that we had come here definitely doesn't want us to do it, so
Yeah.
you know, you gotta take they're our voting populace
We
that
have,
put us in here,
what,
so.
like 99% of the people don't want it.
It was a large percentage.
It was a very large percent. And Kevin Archer, in regard to, I don't know if you went back and looked at it, I have it on video. Do you know who Kevin Archer is? He's a wonderful engineer. And he spoke last time, and he talked about where the money that comes in. He gave a list of what a town can use it for, and there is really no use for a general fund.
Right.
I mean, I can list it right now. Ex-prison help, probation or parole, youth service, municipal juvenile review boards, streetscape for anything that's near the facility where this is sold. So it really doesn't help the community that much. And he even went to Litchfield, I mean, looked at Litchfield, and they made half of what they were told they were going to make last year. And it sits in an account because they don't know where to put the money.
Yeah.
They don't know what they can spend it on.
And that becomes a liability too. As the money
Absolutely.
sits in escrow, again, now you've got to account for it, or is that a slush fund, or again, what are you going to use the money for? And that becomes problematic as well. So I agree, that was one of the big things that I wanted to do, or at least do more due diligence on. I didn't get a chance to look at what the stipulations are, but if the stipulations are valid, I'm not questioning Kevin, just if the stipulations are, you can only use it for this.
I don't think he would have said.
No, and I agree. Like I said, I'm not questioning Kevin. I've known Kevin for a very long
Yes,
time.
we have to.
With that being said, that becomes a potential shift, because again, if the money is tied to it, towns like Danbury, which could utilize facilities for those programs and might actually have those programs, they have an offshoot for that. Brookfield doesn't.
No,
And that becomes the problem.
we're not a city,
Right. Again, we're a town of 15,000
whatever,
people,
17.
so.
And actually, a previous commissioner had brought up exactly those restrictions on the money. You know, you just can't use it as a slush fund.
No.
The money is tied to specific things. So that was very interesting input, because that money aspect is not gonna make us the 250K a year that,
No. And as he said, Litchfield received half of what they were told they were going to receive last year,
yeah.
which was they received 100,000, I think, instead of 200.
So I have a little bit of different take. I get that the money can only be used for certain things and whatnot. Listening to everybody, there's a lot of people that were here that opposed it. We don't really know what people that were not here, what they had to say. When I think about a lot of things people were saying, one of the things that really stuck to mind, somebody pointed out that there's no use for medical marijuana. I'll disagree with that wholeheartedly. I watched my mother use medical marijuana to help comfort her during pancreatic cancer, so there's absolutely a need and a use for it. Finding it at that time was very hard. We had to go, I don't remember exactly where my brother had to go for it, but it wasn't local. It wasn't anywhere close. The other thing is, and somebody also pointed this out last time, our kids are using it right now, and the adults in town are using it. My big my big thing that worries me the most is, I would rather, I'm gonna be realistic here for a second. I don't know if my kid is gonna use marijuana, but if he does, I would rather him get it from a dispensary than get it from somebody that nobody knows and it's unclean, and next thing we know, we have fentanyl issue going on. That's my big concern with not having it. I know the argument. It's right over the border. I know that argument, but if I was to use it, and I don't know if I would, so I can't answer that question, I would rather go someplace 5 minutes down the road than travel through Danbury down Federal Road to try to get an extra 10 minutes. I get it. I get the huge concern, and I get it, but it's to me, it makes sense to do it.
Well, I did ask a question at the end
Absolutely.
last time, and that was, medical marijuana can be delivered. Because a lot of people who need it can't get to it. They can't, even if it's down the road.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to have it delivered. So it can be delivered. We
A lot of
don't need
people
it right
don't
down
want
the
to
road.
use that delivery service. I think we have to consider that.
And the children, as far as, and this is what somebody else said, they did research on that, as far as having a legitimate dispensary, the dealers will follow that and undercut.
Yeah, and you know,
That happens
speaking
with-
of that, the cannabis at the dispensaries is not cheap.
I know
They
that.
have a lot of costs.
And the
I think
kids
that's
can't
why
go
the
in, they have
black,
to
I
be-
think that's why the black marketers can come in. They can come in cheaper.
Right.
Because they don't have those costs. In that way, it's not similar to alcohol, because alcohol is cheap.
Correct.
You know, and so nobody's making moonshine illegally anymore. But with cannabis, well. But with cannabis, you know, it's so expensive, all the security, you know, it costs money to do
Right.
it, and therefore you have to charge a pretty penny. So I think there'll still be a black market,
Well,
especially for the underage
Look,
kids.
the market's gonna be there regardless. And again, whether for or against the dispensary, the market's gonna be there.
Yeah.
The market's here now. That's the facts.
Yeah.
There is distribution in our town. It's been in the news, the house on Candlewood Lake Road where the guy got caught with
Oh,
50
yeah.
pounds of marijuana in his house. Again, it's not unique to
Yeah.
Brookfield or anything in the state or in the country.
Yeah.
So the question becomes, regulated, unregulated. The dispensaries are expensive. They are absolutely regulated across the board.
Yeah.
Per state regulations.
Yep.
That's clear. The dealers in the black market, again, now you're missing, they're making it cheaper because they're mixing, whether it's oregano, whether it's fentanyl, whether it's synthetics, whatever they're going to do, they're gonna do it because they're dirty and that's where they're making their money.
Yeah.
It's illegal and that's the fact. The question that I've got with it is, and again, I'm with Sean, you know, knowing people that have had to use it for medical reasons,
Yeah.
whether it's pain, whether it's Parkinson's, shakes, whatever.
Sure. You know, speaking of that, we have 3 different types. We have recreational, medical, and then production. There's no reason, and by the way, we used to allow medical before the moratorium. Medical, and you'll see it in our current regs, the moratorium overrides it, but we allow medical in an industrial zone. So that's certainly possible to still allow that. I don't have anything against medical. You have to go by appointment, you need a prescription.
Right.
It's actual medicinal use. The recreational, you know, that's where I don't think you're gonna get rid of the black market or the undercuts, just having
Look, I
a
agree.
dispensary.
Correct. Again, everyone's going to find cigarettes are highly regulated. You know there's a black market for cigarettes.
Yeah.
You can get false tax stamps, which, again, you buy them out of state. Again, Sopranos made a joke of it in one of their shows.
Yeah.
But, again, criminal activity is gonna be criminal activity.
Yeah.
So
That's-
why do we want to introduce it into anything that would even draw into our town?
It's already here.
It's already here.
Yeah.
But why do you want to draw more?
But it's
Why do you want to
here.
say, hey, it's legal? As a matter of fact, I don't know if you saw the case. 2 cases argue that Connecticut's legal cannabis is unconstitutional. Did you see that?
I have. Gwen,
In
I'm not saying,
Stamford.
But when we can't enter anymore.
I'm
I
not-
understand.
I'm not saying I'm for it or against it. I want to be very clear with that. What I'm saying is you can make compelling arguments across both ways. My biggest concern was the monetary component. The fact that the monetary component has kind of been pulled off of the table because of the fact that there are very strong stipulations of what the money can and can't be used
Yes.
for, that may or may not benefit the town, and in this case, it's probably not going to benefit the town.
Exactly.
That becomes the challenge.
Yes.
Now, whether it's medicinal, again, whether you go to the hospital, whether you go to the botanist or Butter, go to Massachusetts or other facilities, again, I have it delivered. That doesn't change one way or the other. Again, the fact of the matter is, the drugs and cannabis is already here, whether it's talked about, whether it's disclosed or not. That's the fact.
Well, we know that. We've heard from people whose children have died from it, who received it at Brookfield High School. And this is not yesterday.
Correct.
So, yes, it's been around. Of course we know. But do we want to introduce legal into the town?
And I think that's where, listening to the people who came in front of us, what their feelings are,
I believe since this is our application, I can comment on this, since it's our application, not a normal application we would receive. I believe that I do have that privilege.
I don't think so.
I do.
I didn't see it.
You can get legal clarifications, and if I don't, because I
All
believe
right.
that I do.
I can ask the town attorney on your behalf.
More than welcome to do that, but I believe since this is our application, I'm allowed to comment on this.
But you understand the concept of, the people
I
voting
get
on
that,
it
I
are the
get,
jury.
I get that, but we're also the applicant here, and that's the difference.
Well, the town's the applicant. We're not.
We're through us, we're the applicant. I mean, if you wanna get legal clarification, go ahead, but I think because zoning is the applicant,
I
Let
do.
me speak to
I do.
this.
I will.
Okay, can we write it up? So, like, I think we're pretty much good on medical
Mm-hmm.
and growing and production.
Right.
But we're just not into, like, a recreation. So could we write it up, put
Recreational
on
and-
to recreational, maybe
And
table?
production.
Yeah, and then could we table the recreational for 2 years or whatever, a year or two, and then revisit it?
Well, here's the thing about regs. You can always change them again. I mean, we changed the regs to put the moratorium in. And then, and now we're changing the regs to end the moratorium and put some regs in, so we have something. And then down the line, if we decide, hey, you know what? Maybe recreational, say we decide no recreational, some
Right.
medical and whatever.
Yeah.
We can revisit that. Or anybody, actually, anybody can, but we could as our own.
Yeah,
self.
I think that would be an easier task than trying to, like I said, we had so much resistance to recreational.
No, I think we had resistance to any kind.
Not to medical, though.
I
No,
I
most of
don't
the
know, I
people-
looked at all.
No, but the people that came up said they understand medical, they understand it's helpful, blah, 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 but they were dead set against recreation.
I think recreational and production. Those two, I think people were unhappy with.
I'm reading,
I'm
I'll
I'm
raise a
reading
point, I'll raise a point of
any
order
kind-
without discussing the application. I'll raise a point of order. I think you need legal help to craft whatever this motion is going to be. And I would suggest that at the May 8th meeting, Attorney Beecher come here and help us craft what the commission wants it to be on this
Oh, yeah.
application. I don't think you're gonna be able to splice it together tonight.
No. And we have the language that we have right now has already been looked at by the attorney. But you're right, once we come up with final stuff, we'll say, hey, okay, this is what we want to do. Does this look right? Where the changes need to be made? to make it legally airtight.
And I would suggest there be some back and forth between the staff and town council to craft something that the commission can vote on May 8th.
And I will also, not to echo Gwen, but my feeling is the medical component is less objected,
Yeah,
but I did see an overwhelming majority of cannabis. And by that I mean
everything.
everything.
Absolutely, they said unequivocally, no cannabis in Brookfield. That's what I read.
Yeah, and, you know, when I read the letters and listen, you know, from what I understand, it's like two things. One is the character of the town, and the POCD mentions the character of the town. That's one of the main things. And most of the public felt that this is not in the character of the town.
Right.
You know, to have a retail dispensary.
Correct.
Or a production one for that matter. The other thing is, and this is not in the POCD, but it's in our regs for our deciding factor, whenever we make a zone regulation change, and it's section 8.6 D1CI, for the health and welfare and property values. So for every zone reg change we made, we have to look, that's one of the requirements, to look at that. How does it help the health and welfare? And by that the same sort of people, whether the character, they're also talking about the health. You know, do we want to, as they say, teach our kids in school no to drugs, and then turn around, oh, by the way, when you're 21, you know, go out and, you know, buy.
But we teach our kids no to alcohol, right?
But they
And I know it's not the same thing.
No.
Yeah.
Same
But we
effect.
teach our kids no to
No, it
alcohol.
isn't.
To me, it comes down to
No,
Same thing.
'cause
exactly
alcohol
what
doesn't
you're
use it.
teaching your kids. You don't want them to use drugs. You don't want them to be drinking alcohol underage or anything like that.
Yeah.
So we have those conversations with us. I'm sure we all have. But some of them are going to do it anyways.
Yes.
And the same thing with drugs. Some of them are with marijuana. Some of them are going to do it. I think there's just that. I think a lot of people are, when they look at marijuana or think about it, they're picturing, and I'm going to say this, they're picturing like, you know, the old days with like Snoop Dogg or Bob Marley and that negative connotation that it has. Now, I'm not saying marijuana is a good thing or a bad thing. I think people have the right to do whatever they want to do. What I'm saying is that the image that it has, I think that's, personally, I think there's a lot of people looking at that image and it as a negative image as marijuana for cannabis.
Yeah.
And then think goes same thing with the medical stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And Sean,
You think cannabis, you think medical, well, you're
yeah, no, you're 100%
killing
right.
yourself, whatever.
Again, it's perception is the reality.
Yeah.
And
True, absolutely.
and-
But
I, beyond that, I think there's so many studies of what it leads to and what it does to kids and the psychosis and the suicide. And also there's more THC today than there was when Bob Marley was in my era. So it's stronger, it's more potent today than it was before.
But would you say
And
it's
it's gonna
more,
be that way in.
it's more the message that we're giving if we have a dispensary to say, you know, it's okay from Brookfield, when we actually, you know, we give money to Brookfield Cares to say, you know, with people with drug problems and that, and then to turn around and allow
And
it to be
offer it.
sold. So it's like, you know, it seems
It's a dichotomy.
hypocritical
It's-
to do both of those things.
Correct.
To take money from this, that we can't use anyway, but take money from one thing that we rail against on the other side.
Yes.
So that's,
Agreed.
I think that's what they were expressing,
Yes.
the public in
We're
opposition.
teaching our kids one thing and then if we turn around and do something else.
Even if it's legal at 21, I mean, that's how
I
they feel.
understand
Right,
that.
but again, perception is reality. To Gwen's point, and she referenced it, talking about the suicides, anxiety, and all that other stuff that can come from use of drugs. But you can also draw the conclusions of that through television, social media, cyberbullying, and other things, not just drugs. So again, the mechanics of the drug use, for whatever reason, good, bad, or indifferent, there are other components to this. And again, whether it's education, whether it's what you do to facilitate that, becomes the challenge. If you look at smoking back in the 50s, 40s, that was the big thing to do. And then and you saw it on TV and everything, and then that was bad for you. And then they did things in the 80s where you could eat protein in the Atkins diets or South Beach diets, and then that was bad for you. And now it's keto, and that could be problematic. And again, I'm not saying right, wrong, or indifferent. It might work for some people and it might not for others. But the perception is, in the scenario that we're painting, the perception is a reality. And unfortunately, within what we're talking about, there are definitely people on both sides that will say, here's the positives, here's the negatives, and here's the negatives, and here's the positives.
But in line with what Kurt has said, what is our perception of this town? Yeah.
I agree.
And how do we want to sell it?
Again, I agree. That's what I said. I'm not saying I'm positive or negative on this, but trying to draw the conclusions of a straight line in the scenario that we're talking about, there isn't a straight line. There are multiple ways to get there. And again, it's what's good for the town, what is
I'm
in the best
going
interest
by
of
what
the
I
town.
heard and what I've read.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going by. If I go against what I've heard and what I've read, I don't know what'll happen.
Yeah, because
We'd probably
that's what
pursue.
we asked for. We asked for their input, and
Yes.
overwhelmingly, they're against,
Again, agree.
recreational production. And
Production period,
production. period.
or selling period.
Correct. It's all three.
Yes.
It was cultivation. There were a lot of questions around, is it a farm, is it not a farm?
Actually, it can farm outside, I saw, but go on.
But again, a lot of security and all that other stuff.
Yes, yes.
Then the manufacturing, whether it's the synthetic or processing of the grown
Yeah.
cannabis. And then distribution,
Yeah.
the sales, whether it's retail, pharmaceutical, and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Can I raise another procedural question, please?
Mhm.
So, I think if you're gonna continue this till May 8th, what I think would be beneficial, because you've had so many of the public weigh in on this application.
Yeah.
I think you probably should show 2, maybe 3 motions of what the mechanics are. One of your total ban, one of your no recreation and medical, and one of your total allowance, or whatever you call
Yeah.
it. So if we could get that for May 8th, so that we have something, one of those
Oh,
motions
yeah.
to make.
And we have two of
Procedure.
those. We have two of those pieces of language. One allows everything, and one that allows nothing.
No, but
So we need some-
the actual motion that we need to make with the
Oh,
components of it.
Well, it would be a resolution similar to what we've done
But
before.
I think that we need
with
some
the
mechanical
changes. So we will get the attorney to look at that resolution.
Before we vote on it, yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So we already have the language for two of them that's been looked over, the ban and the,
And I would actually have them write motions that go with them, that's all.
oh, yeah. I already wrote a resolution similar to what, one of them would be, and they would all be dissimilar, but mainly a resolution to approve. This is what we usually do on a reg change, is you resolve to do something and you talk about the regs are gonna change, you give the reasons. It's important to give the reasons when you approved it, because we're gonna approve a regulation. The question is, are we gonna approve a ban, allow everything, or something in between? When the effective date is, and then all the language that actually is part of that resolution. So we'll have as many resolutions as we need written and looked at by the attorney, so we can come back.
I think our staff wants to be involved with that too.
Oh, yes,
obviously.
they're always involved.
So let's, so that's my procedural thing. I mean, I think
Yeah.
you know the different options, just get them on paper and
Yeah.
let's go.
And so part of this deliberations comes to some consensus, well, how many options do we want
I
to
do-
present?
I think what I'm saying is procedurally, you should probably show the public all 3.
Well, there might be 4.
Maybe,
So, you know,
I doubt it.
someone might
right?
say, you know,
I
we
think
do,
the public will want to vote.
the public can't vote.
I understand.
I
But
know.
that's why
But they kind
that's-
of have voted
That's
already.
why
They-
they need
and
to
that-
see all
yes.
3.
So,
That's why they need to see what all 3 look like.
What's the possibility of choosing something and then also on top of it, putting an additional moratorium or extending a moratorium? Can't, okay. Just asking.
so, you know, like I said before, we could choose something, and then later on in life, you can change something else. This commission, some other commission, you know, in the future. What we can do is, it sounds like, you know, people still are feeling their way about what they want. Some do and some don't. I would imagine you want a total ban, Glenn, right?
I'm going by
By what
all
you
the
heard,
people that
yes.
came in and all the letters that I've written,
But
I've read.
But I could, this is what I could create. A resolution for a total ban, a resolution for allowing everything, and say a resolution for allowing medical and nothing else. And is there anything else we want to?
Get all of those drafts and with Tom and with the staff, and then let's see them
Oh, yeah.
all.
Yeah.
I mean, even if we're leaning a certain way, the public needs to see what they would look like.
So there would be a
There would-
facility just for medical?
No, there would be.
Well, in essence, yes, that's, we used to allow that. Nobody came, you know, came with their license and said, okay, but they wanted to open up on Commerce Drive. But they didn't win the lottery, and so they didn't open. But we allowed it. And in fact, if you look at 4.4L, you'll see the language for allowing a medical marijuana dispensary in table 2, entry J or 6J or 6I, is that language there that
So
is
you
a
could get
proper
a
use.
doctor to write a script and come in.
The only thing, yes, the only thing keeping that from happening right now is a moratorium layered on top. But yes, that's the idea. For medical marijuana, your doctor gives you a script, and then you have to have a card to go to one of
Right,
these.
yeah.
And then you make an appointment to go to the dispensary, the medical marijuana dispensary, and then you go, and then you get your stuff, and then you leave, or you arrange for delivery. So that's how they work, is by
Yes, I can
appointment
see all
only.
kinds of problems with that, but,
But that's, you have to have a doctor's note. And you have-
that's easy.
Yeah. And you yeah, well, I mean, you know, there are legitimate uses for medical marijuana. you know.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah,
So when
And-
we come back next time, there'll be 3 or 4 motions, and one of them will get made.
that's right,
Good.
that's right, that's what the idea is. And that's, we have to do it by May 9th, because by May 16th,
Yep,
there better be something on the books.
yep.
If it
So-
it'd just be a free willy.
Well,
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
They can
Again,
go in, you know,
Whatever they
site plan only, I wanna open right here,
Yeah.
you know,
Okay.
just like a liquor store.
Yeah, I don't mind seeing just medical, excuse me, and manufacturing, 'cause I still think the town could use the money that way. They don't, that's a tax base right there on the machinery and the warehouse.
Yes,
Look,
exactly.
yeah.
That's just
That
like a
money
regular
that goes right
industrial
into our
use.
coffers, doesn't go into a specialty fund.
No, it
Right.
doesn't.
So
Yeah.
that's, you know, anything to bring money into this town, with a 6.5% increase in taxes, we could use some more increase of business.
Well, we are
in our
gonna have a
town.
referendum.
Yeah.
You can vote on that.
Good. But yeah, nonetheless, so I'd like to see if you could, you know. one
Yeah,
of
we
those
can
could be
do
written
one
up.
of those,
That'd be
too.
awesome, yeah.
All right. So I'd have 4, say,
Yes.
5, you know, we could look at them and decide. All right. Let me write that down.
I just suggest everybody go back and look at all the letters.
Yeah.
That's what I would suggest.
I mean, that's what this deliberation's for, to share these ideas so we all understand where everybody's coming from. And in regards to you, I will send something out to Tom Beecher and ask about applications brought by,
Going forward, too, so.
yeah,
We need a motion to continue.
yeah, so a motion to continue
I'll
the
second it.
deliberation?
No, I can't
No,
make
you
it.
can't.
Sorry.
I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to continue cannabis establishment and medical marijuana dispensaries.
Second.
All right, any discussion on continuing the deliberations? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
I'll abstain.
And 1 abstention from Ms. Armet. So, what is that, 401. All right, thank you. No public hearings opening tonight, no old business, no new business, just a tabled item, which we're gonna continue to table, which is the fee thing.
Now, do we have to have something on that before the end of the fiscal year?
What?
The fee schedule, if we're gonna do something, don't we have a July 1st that we have to do it by?
That I don't know.
I believe so,
The
but I'm not.
ordinance actually for the town of Brookfield allows the land use commissions to set their own fee schedule.
Okay, well, I thought they usually budget them based on what the schedule's gonna be.
Oh, you mean how much money
Yeah,
they're getting?
We're not
no,
decreasing it.
no, I know. No, they usually, when the Board of Finance decides the revenue side, they usually budget on based on what they think the schedule's gonna be.
Oh, yeah.
That's all.
It's just, because of our busy agendas,
I'm just wondering how long we're gonna keep kicking it down the road.
I'd
What,
like to
that?
finish it before the end of the fiscal year myself.
which is July. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
So
We'll-
first regular meeting in June maybe, or?
Yeah, because I don't think there's anything coming up that you guys know of, no? All right.
Like you
so-
just said that there'll be 4 applicants.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I don't know.
There are
Fran's, his list is growing, so.
Only thing I'd mention is that fee schedule is associated with some regulation changes. As far as naming things to be consistent with the fee schedule and vice versa.
It's messier than you know.
So it will require a public hearing on this. But I have the draft language and I've already provided it, I believe, to the entire commission. We could take out or remove whatever anyone felt comfortable, even if at the next meeting you wanna say which you would like to go forward with. Because some of it's neater than others.
So the next meeting, we could probably set up that public hearing that she's talking about.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, all right. Okay. All right, any commissioner comments or informal discussions?
Yes, I'll come back to where we were earlier. The Board of Ethics has 2 areas of jurisdiction. One is complaining that somebody did something wrong, and the other is inquiring. I would like to see the commission inquire to the Board of Ethics to say what exactly happened here as far as the Planning Commission chairman is concerned, writing to the commission, and say, what do you see here, and is there a remedy, and let them tell us, no, nothing happened wrong, or yes, something did happen that was wrong.
Right.
But I think that way is an inquiry, and then an inquiry sometimes can lead to a complaint against an individual group. There's also some broad language in the charter when it comes to ethics that it's very vague as to whether, it talks about public officials and town employees. It's very vague with elected officials as to whether it applies to individual members of commissions or the commission as a whole, because the commission only has authority as a commission. So there's some vague language that it may not apply to individual commissioners, but I think the whole situation needs to be written in an inquiry letter to the Board of Ethics. They have to look at the situation and then come back to us and say, okay, here's what happened, here's what didn't happen. And that may lead to somebody getting complained against, it may not, but we do need.
So do you suggest a motion for the land use to ask an query to the ethics committee?
Well, do you have your
about-
hand up? I'm sorry.
Yeah, she did.
Yes,
She's
I
got a
kind
comment for
of,
you.
I don't know why it's an inquiry. Why isn't it just a statement?
Because I don't know, because with the other, you have to point out a specific area of law that somebody violated.
So they will figure out what part of the
Yeah.
law they violated.
Yeah.
It's almost like.
Like if somebody goes driving on 90 miles an hour down Federal Road, we know
Well,
what law
that's
they.
not a stipulation that a chairman or an individual,
It's not set forth in law anyplace.
Oh, the state regulation, you can't have one land use commissioner go in front or.
Or there is,
provide-
there's an
yes.
actual regulation. I
So-
thought that was just case law, I'm sorry.
No, that's a regulation. You can't go in front of another land use commission and give your opinion.
so I think
And
we
he did
should
that.
actually,
File a complaint?
yes.
Would that be the zoning commission filing a complaint
Yes.
or me
It
on?
would be the zoning commission, not staff.
Yeah,
filing
all
a
right.
complaint.
Please.
Would the staff help with that or would I just do it myself? I can make a motion to,
If the zoning commission as a whole decides that they would like their chair to speak with, or to file the inquiry on behalf of the zoning commission, might be a way to do a motion.
Yeah.
So you need 2 motions. One, add this to the agenda, because it's a regular meeting. Second thing you would need is either to make a motion for the commission to either inquire to the Board of Ethics or to complain to the Board of Ethics about one of those 2 areas.
well, I think if we did an inquiry, when we find out, if there are 2 things.
An inquiry could lead to a complaint
Yeah.
later on.
And they can investigate and say, yes, this
I
does
think
break
Gwen
this
thinks we're at
reg.
the complaint level already.
If there is a stipulation, if indeed
Well, there's a reg for
a
him,
reg,
but the other part is, sending information after the public hearing's closed to individual members. And that could be the inquiry part. But if we make them both inquiries about the two items, then they can decide. They can look up the case law, and they can look up the regs on the one, and then look at,
The-
the other part,
Yeah.
to see if it actually is, actionable.
Because some things that aren't written in statute are law because of case law, especially in the area of land use.
Yeah.
So, I think but we need to not have situations like this going forward, no matter what.
No, he shouldn't
well,
do that.
that's what I mean. I mean, isn't,
Well, this would be the start of that process. Start with an inquiry that they should immediately, for the state reg violation, okay, that's a violation. The other thing, maybe, maybe not. But have them start an inquiry about both these communications that have come to our board by the planning commission chairman.
Chairman,
Yeah.
Well, and then the other one is just about the idea of taking correspondence and what to do with it after it comes in.
Yeah.
Correspondence should never be going to
Well,
individual
yeah.
commissioner. I mean, it
So
should
that
be
that
from a
part,
kind of land use
yeah.
officer.
And then it should not go to if one commissioner gets it, it should not go to the other commissioners.
So, which is why I said, whenever something comes in, right to the land use, nobody else, let's not make the problem worse.
But before we do anything, I think we need to decide whether we're at the inquiry level or the complaint level. And in my mind, I think we're at the inquiry level, which may lead to a complaint. I don't know that we're at the complaint level yet, but I don't know what everybody else thinks.
I think it's a good start, and then and they can decide, how far they
Board
want
of
to bring it.
Ethics.
but you already know it's a violation.
Well, I can't tell you the
So what if they
exact-
come back and say, oh, it was okay, really?
Then we can send a complaint in. They shouldn't, if they read the statutes,
But no, I do see Gwen's point. Maybe if we know the statute's violated, maybe we are at the complaint level.
Well, now I have to go look it up. I only,
No,
it was
no.
during my training that I learned about this, and it's a state statute. Now I have to go look up section and chapter, or chapter and section.
So we're giving you homework.
I know.
Loading them up.
You can check the Board of Ethics thing. Hold on. Okay, it's actually not, it's an advisory opinion request. It says, what specific actions or concerns you as a possible violation? And what specific section of the charter or code of ethics concerns you, and what are the details of the potential violation? That's when you do an advisory opinion, that's what you're reporting to them on. The other one is, okay, see, this is where it gets more specific, Gwen. Who do you think violated the law, the town charter, the code of ethics? What position does the person hold? What specific did they do? When and where did the alleged violation occur? Attach a brief statement of the facts and circumstances and any documents which support said allegation. That's the difference between the complaint and what we were calling the inquiry, which is actually advisory opinion.
So why don't we do the complaint on the reg thing, because that kind of encompasses the fact that you sent data. And the fact that it's, after the public hearing, well,
So you're gonna need a motion to add that to the
Yeah.
agenda, and then you're gonna have to make a motion to make complaints to the Board of Ethics.
I'll take a motion for 8A, new business, to add the ethics complaint. I'll take that, if someone wants to make that motion about Mr. Dale of the Planning Commission.
I'll make a motion to add the ethics complaint to the new business agenda.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Darrell? Any discussion on the motion? All right. All in favor of adding the agenda item? Aye.
Aye.
Against? Abstain? Okay, unanimous to add the item 8A. The motion would be to have the chair send a ethics complaint to the Board of Ethics about the behavior of Mr. Scott Dale, Chairman of the Planning Commission, in regards to sending data about our closed public hearing on cannabis, application Z-24-11, and I would get help from the land use and crafting the language. So could I have a motion like that, just so
I'll make the motion, but I'm not
What I
gonna be able to
said? Yeah.
repeat what you said.
Don't worry, we have a recording secretary. As long as I spoke clearly, and I can always watch the video.
Yes.
A second?
Second.
Thanks, Daryl. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? Aye. Against? And abstain? All right, unanimous. So I will work with you, Laura, on the language for that, or Fran, maybe Laura's not in tomorrow.
The forms are on the town website.
Oh,
Chair and Fran.
all right. Any more comments or informal discussion? Oh, Gwen, didn't you have something? Or was it about,
But you want to talk about water for elephants again?
Still going on?
Yes.
well, forever?
Yes.
right?
Forever, hopefully.
Yeah.
They're selling in February of '25, so.
Wow, all right. Have to make a trip
We're
down to
selling.
Broadway, or off Broadway.
They coming to the bush now?
Maybe someday.
All right, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Thank you. The motion was made by Sean, the second by
Second.
Gwen. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?